Hi, Coach Grimes here again with another in our series of match analysis. And I'm going in reverse order from the bottom of the ladder to the top. This is a number 5 match between Nicole Wolf and Hanna of Gila Ridge. This has been a struggle bringing this match to you as the file was corrupted and I had to run it through several programs before I could get it to the point where I could get it to run through and upload it. So we're going to pick up here in the second set with Nicole already down a set. So Hanna misses the first serve, and this is going to be a second serve that she's going to serve to Nicole. The first thing we're going to look at is the footwork. I want you to notice that Nicole doesn't split step. Now this is not going to hurt her on this point because like most pushers, Hanna's second serve is very slow. It's just tapped over the net and just sits up for Nicole. Looking at it again, despite not split stepping, I do like Nicole's recovery footwork. It's very lively and gets her back into play pretty quickly. And she does split step when Hanna makes contact with the ball the second time. Now let's go back and look at Nicole's forehand on that point because I think there are some areas in which we can help her. Let's look at the racket preparation. You'll notice that her racket head immediately drops down below her waist. This is not a huge problem as she is returning serve, and it is okay to prepare your racket lower when you are returning serve. I would, however, like to see that turn originate from the torso. That is, using both arms to turn the entire upper body rather than just dropping the arm. Now let's go back a little bit and look at the racket preparation. There is some racket lag here, but I would like to see a little more racket lag. Racket lag means that the racket head is the last thing to go forward. Starts with the hip that goes first, then the butt of the racket, then finally the racket head. This segmented swing is part of the kinetic chain and puts more torque and spin on the ball. What I do like about her position is that you can see her transferring her weight from her back leg to her front leg, and that her eyes are laser focused on the ball. However, her entire arm is moving as one unit rather than in the segmented manner which I just described. Now let's look at the contact point, which is well out in front of where it should be. Ideally, you want to contact the ball an inch or two in front of your front foot. Finally, I'd like to see her turn her doorknob with the wrist at the end, or windshield wiper if you prefer, to generate a little more spin. However, the ball did have enough spin to land in, and it bounced too high for Hanna to handle. And as stated before, good recovery steps put her in position for the next shot. Now on the next point, we're going to see where not split stepping can hurt you. Now, when to split step? This was a matter of some debate at my last coaching recertification class in November. The old instruction, which I was taught, that you split step when your opponent's racket moves towards the ball. What they told us was that giving precise instructions was counterproductive. They found that students were waiting for that event to happen and were therefore late. In other words, by the time they see the opponent swinging towards the ball and they initiate the split step, the opponent has already struck the ball and they are late. The new, and I think emotionally unsatisfying instruction is that you should be in the air when your opponent strikes the ball. Whatever instruction you go with, when to split step is a matter of intuition and something that you have to feel to get right. In this case, Nicole doesn't split step at all and is completely unprepared for Hanna's insanely flat serve. This is the challenge of playing against a pusher. Their serve, almost always hit with a forehand grip, is very flat, making its bounce and direction unpredictable. The good news is that they only get about 10% of these serves in, and their second serves are just tapped over the net and sit up like a grapefruit. The challenge for you is to be able to attack. Now let's have a look at Nicole's service game. Lots to unpack here. Nicole is serving with an Eastern forehand grip. Now she probably thinks that she's in a continental grip. Now this is typical of beginning players. They will start out in a semi-Western grip because that is the most comfortable for them. The coach will come along and correctly switch them to the continental grip, and they will subconsciously slide over to an Eastern forehand grip, believing they're still in continental, but realizing that this is a little more comfortable than full continental. This grip has allowed her to put some spin on her serve and has greatly increased her consistency. She will be the first to admit that as a freshman, she double faulted whole games away. This still puts her, however, in the dreaded frying pan position, and she is unable to generate pace on her serve and get it in. Her positioning is also a bit too wide here. She's about where she should be if she were serving in doubles. This leaves herself vulnerable for the down-the-line shot. Her toss is a bit too far back. Her tossing arm and hitting arm come up at the same time, causing her to have to pause at the critical moment and robbing her serve of power. Now let's look at the most critical flaw, the ball drop. First, Nicole has good racket drop here, but because she's not in continental grip, her racket face is a little more open than it should be at this point. When you drop your racket, you want it to be on edge, sort of like a hatchet. But what really hurts is that she allows the ball to drop down so low that her arm is still bent on contact. The kinetic chain requires releasing that energy at its greatest point, that is, at the end of the chain. This is why you must have your arm fully extended at contact in order to take advantage of all of the energy that you have stored up starting from the ground. Now, I had another student with this problem, and she was able to get corrective lenses that helped her judge distance. Of course, I'm not a doctor and I can't make a diagnosis here, but it is something worth looking into. Looking at another point, we will see Nicole get into a winning position, but be unable to convert. After a weak return from Hanna, Nicole quickly moves into a winning position. She has lowered her center of gravity by bending her knees, and realizing Hanna is out of position, is prepared to drive this ball into the open court. So what happened to cause her to miss? When you see it again, you're going to notice that she takes her left hand off of the racket. This is another common mistake with beginning players. They don't feel stable with their non-dominant hand, so they rely too much on their dominant hand and end up pushing the ball long. Remember, the modern two-hand backhand is a non-dominant forehand. So I go by the 80-20 rule. Use 80% of your non-dominant hand and 20% of your dominant hand. Use the non-dominant wrist to turn the doorknob, in this case clockwise, to create topspin and give you more margin for error on the ball. Nicole has made steady progress during our abbreviated season. To be fair, she, like many others, did not expect to play varsity this year, but our lack of experience forced us to thrust players into that role perhaps before they were ready. But Nicole has worked very hard to improve, and it was beginning to pay off just before the season paused. Tips for improvement: use the kinetic chain to increase power on both serves and ground strokes. Turn the doorknob to create spin, which will in turn increase consistency. And finally, remember to split step on every point. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section of the video. And as always, stay safe, take care of one another, and we'll see you next time.